What's up, everybody? Andy Meyer from Animal and Airplane Collectibles here. And I want to do, it's been a while since I've done a video like this, but long ago I did 3 things that the show Go Diego Go got wrong. And if you haven't seen that video yet, please go check it out. But I mentioned 3 mistakes that Go Diego Go got wrong. And I want to review an episode that like, every once in a while, you think back on your childhood and you think about the shows you've seen. And there's this Go Diego Go episode that I want to talk about called Diego's Manatee Mermaid Rescue. Now, this is from, I think it's in the same season as the Freddy the Fruit Bat Saves Halloween episode, and I might do a video on that episode coming up soon as well. But I want to talk about this one because when I first saw this episode many years ago, I spotted several mistakes, and I want to point out those mistakes right now. This is just a little episode review. So, it all starts with Diego's, like, he's on the shore of a river, and there's a manatee in the water. But he doesn't mention what manatee it is. Is it a West Indian manatee? Is it an Amazonian manatee? Or is it that other manatee? I think it's either, like, I think there's like 3 manatee species. There's one in South America, one in North America, and one off the coast of Africa. And this doesn't really make sense. Like, I'm pretty sure it's an Amazonian manatee because Diego's really from, like, the Latin American area. Plus, they'll speak Spanish, so it's probably an Amazonian manatee, but they mention this book that he's going to read to Manatee about mermaids. And we all know about mermaids and such. But the thing is that a lot of people say that, like, a lot of people say that in this episode that mermaids were like the heroes of the ocean. And while this is relevant for this song that he sings, Mermaids Are the Heroes of the Ocean, the thing is, there are several sea animals missing. First off, where are the sharks? And I know sharks are dangerous and such, but they could have put, like, a blue shark in this episode, and blue sharks are rarely aggressive and rarely dangerous. They are nothing compared to the great white or the bull shark. I mean, most sharks, like, don't attack people, and even the bull shark finds it very, like, even the bull shark finds humans to be, like, not super appetizing, like. But the thing is like, the bull shark, like, while people are very rarely attacked by sharks, some sharks do have a bad reputation, but, like, bull sharks, like, they don't really want anything to do with humans, not even, like, sharks want nothing to do with humans, and the bull shark is one of those sharks that just wants nothing to do with humans. But sometimes shark attacks just come from mistaken identity, like, they think you're something else. Like, they could think you're, like, a bird or a turtle if you're swimming, like, on the surface with your head bobbing up and down. But, like, they could have, like, I really wish that there were sharks in this episode, like, because the ocean is just not the same without sharks. There are sharks in a lot of movies and TV shows, but, like, there should be sharks in this one. I mean, that's not to say that there are no sharks at all in Go Diego Go. There are, but they're not in all the episodes that have, like, ocean stuff, I should say. And I really, really think that this episode should have had blue sharks, because, you know, they eventually make their way out into the open ocean, which is a perfect habitat for bull sharks. Wait, no, blue sharks. Never mind. Well, the thing is that when it comes to, like, bull sharks anyway, bull sharks tend to stay, like, they tend to stay in, like, shallow waters, like, a couple, like, anywhere between 10 to as far as, like, a couple miles offshore. But the blue shark is found in, like, blue sharks are what we call pelagic. That means they live in the open ocean, far from land. And bull sharks aren't really pelagic, but I really wish that there were sharks in this episode, because the ocean is just not the same without sharks. And they could have just put a non-lethal species, like the blue shark. Another thing that they missed was the humpback whales. They also missed sailfish, a very well-known fish species that's found in the ocean. They also missed that. So those are some mistakes that I'll point out. And then later on, they keep reading the story and they find out that the mermaids are in trouble. And this leads us to our first mistake. And we all know that, like, that the show is all fiction. Like, people don't jump in books and such. But one mistake that I thought was very illogical is they found out that the mermaids, their city, got pushed out of the ocean and onto, like, a stone wall. But this makes no sense. That city could weigh thousands and thousands and thousands of tons, and it would take quite a lot of force to take that thing out of the water. It would take more than just a Category 5 hurricane. It would take like a Category 10 hurricane if those even existed, which they don't, but there's no such thing as a Category 10 hurricane, as far as we know, but there's like, it would take quite a lot of force to put that thing out of the water, like. And they never mention how it even got out of the water in the first place. So that's one mistake, is how the heck did that city get all the way up on that stone wall hundreds of feet above the water? That makes no sense. It would also take a lot more than just a tsunami to do that. So that's one mistake. Is like, they don't really, that's one mistake, but there are several more. They eventually make their way into the ocean. They eventually reach the ocean, and they eventually, like, on their way to the ocean, like, the current of the river pushes them the wrong way. But, like, why is there a dead end, literally, in the middle, like, at the end of this little section here, like, of the river? Why is there a dead end? It doesn't really make a lot of sense. Most rivers just loop along, and they eventually, like, lead to the ocean. And then eventually they spot some crocodiles, and the crocodiles chase them, and they just have to flee. But the thing is like, when it comes to, like, South America, there's thought to be, like, one well-known species, like the American crocodile is mostly native to Central America, which includes Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador, Belize, Guatemala, and Mexico. And that's where the American crocodile is native to. But the American crocodile is usually found, like, mostly, like, when it comes to, like, the American crocodile found in South America, they're only found in, like, northern Venezuela, and, like, not really that far, so, like, but they just don't mention what type of crocodile it is. I mean, like, it could have been an Orinoco crocodile, a crocodile species that is found in South America. But the thing is they just don't mention what type of crocodile. Is it an Orinoco, or is it an American, or, yeah, they just don't mention that. But it could have been one or the other. But the thing is that's just one mistake, is that they don't mention what type of crocodile it is. But when it comes to crocodiles like the American crocodile is more, like, they can be found in, like, parts of Venezuela and such, but American crocodiles are mostly well known for North America. This includes Central America, including, like I said, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Panama, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Belize, and Mexico. Like, American crocodiles are mostly well known for those specific areas. And there's also a small population in Florida. So the American crocodile, like, these could have been American crocodiles, but they could have been Orinoco crocodiles, but they just don't mention that. And that's something I got confused on for a while. But that's just one of many. That's also a couple mistakes. So far there's those. And one other mistake that was in here is that once they get to the ocean, he says that manatees can swim faster if they swim close to the bottom of, like, wherever they are. Like, but if you go all the way to the ocean floor, what if the ocean floor is, like, hundreds of feet deep? And if you can only breathe underwater for so long, you may not get that far. And how do manatees actually swim faster when they're close to the bottom of the waterway? How? How does a manatee go underwater, and when it literally swims at a speed of 20 miles an hour, or faster when it's near the ocean floor? That makes no sense. And manatees have never been known to swim that fast. So manatees tend to actually swim kind of slow like this, not like this. So that part had me confused. So that's just another mistake. But do you actually, I don't know this for sure, but I don't really know, about, if manatees actually swim faster when they're close to the bottom of, the ocean floor. I don't really think this makes any sense. How does it do that? I just don't get it. I don't get that. And then there's the, they go through the sea plants, and then eventually later on, they find out that, it keeps getting, they eventually reach the tumbling tubes, which we know are fiction and such, but they said the dolphins that wanted to go through the tubes said every day the mermaids clear them. But, every day those tubes get clogged up? How? Does kelp just break off and float in? So strange. But once they get through the tumbling tubes, they eventually hear the mermaids cry, "Help! We're dying!" Well, they weren't really dying, but it sounded, from the picture of this one mermaid named Mariana, it literally looked like the mermaids were dying. Very sad and, yeah. Clearly dying. But I mean, part of me just doesn't really, it's so strange. And then what happened was, they keep going on, and then they eventually find out that the ocean just keeps getting darker and darker. Guys, did you, most people may not, one thing that they don't know is that the deeper you go in the ocean, there's a lot of pressure down there. And if they're super deep, if they're super deep underwater, the pressure could be 50 or even 30 times that at the surface, and could squeeze the blood out of a human as if it was in a giant lemonade press. So that would be bad. And then they find out that Alicia comes along in a submarine, but how did you get that submarine in the book? How did you do that? This doesn't stop kids from using their imagination, though. So that's another thing I kind of got confused on. And then they eventually reach the sea star rocks, and then they find out that all those sea stars are stuck together. But how did they get stuck together? Did an earthquake come along and shake them all up together? They don't mention that. It doesn't make sense of how the sea stars got stuck. That's another mistake. And then they eventually reach the hill with the stone wall where the mermaids are trapped. And then they swim up to the surface, and then there's all these ocean animals help, 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 we gotta save them. But once again, I said this before and I'll say it again. Where are the humpback whales? Where are the sailfish? And where are the blue sharks? The ocean is just not an ocean without sharks. Because sharks are found, there's thousands of species of sharks in the world. I really wish they could have just put at least just one of them in this episode. Just one of those thousands of species of sharks in the world. And even if they did put a great white or maybe something like a blue shark in this episode, why couldn't they, if they put sharks in this episode, couldn't the sharks want to help out too? Because what if there was a blue shark or a great white shark, and he would be help those mermaids too? Even it would want to help the mermaids. And like I said, shark attacks are quite rare. So I really wish that they would have just put at least one or two different species of sharks in this episode. And they also should have put humpback whales as well as sailfish. But they don't. So I'm like, that's just something that's missing. And then Diego says, we're gonna get you down, mermaids. But then they get the Alicia's rescue rope. I'm like, Alicia, how long is that rope? Probably pretty long if you ask me. And then what they do is that they try to pull the city back into the water, but I'm like, Diego, Alicia, that city could weigh like 2,000 tons. It's like super heavy for you to lift. So you're gonna need like a whale to pull that thing back in. Why couldn't you just ask a whale to help out? Like, that part of just, and like, they also say put your hands out in front of you and help us pull. I'm like, don't put your hands out in front of me. You guys can do it yourselves. You don't need my help. You just need to pull harder. Like, you're not even trying. You're weak. You need to act strong. And kids should know that. Kids need to have faith in themselves. Kids can't be asking people for help everywhere they go. Kids need to have faith in themselves. Sure, kids, like, we can help out kids with a couple other things, like helping them do their homework from school, or helping them learn something new if, like, they're curious. Like, we can help them do that. But helping a kid pull, like, if it's something, like, very small, it's like, they should be able to do it if it's, like, if they need to, like, I can't really think of anything, like, what a kid would want to pull. Like, for example, if a kid were to lasso something and pull something, like, very, very light, they don't need help pulling that. But for some reason, and Diego and Alicia found that pulling this city was actually easier than they thought. And I'm like, is it really that light? No wonder it got pushed out of the ocean. But, like, it should have been heavier. And as soon as it hit the water, it should have sunk. Like, if it weighed thousands of pounds or thousands of tons, it should have sunk underwater like a rock. And then bada bing, bada boom, just like that, the mermaids would have been saved. It could have been that simple. But then they do this, and Manatee pulls the city back underwater, and I'm like, Manatee, you're not strong enough. That city, like, all you need to do, why couldn't you just come over and those animals, like, could have just pushed it down or something? Could have helped the city sink. And that would have been, like, that would have been more, like, realistic. Because, like I said, if this city was heavy, it could have sunk like a rock. But then once they get the city back down, Mariana comes along and says, you saved us just in time. Now we can go back to saving the animals here in the ocean. What can we do to thank you? And then they say, can you turn me into a mermaid? And they say that all mermaids were manatees. Really? Well, I guess that's sort of where their imagination would take them. And then they turn Manatee into a mermaid, and then he turns back into a manatee, and then they sing their song about manatees. And then it comes to the conclusion, and that's sort of how it goes. They do a little conclusion at the end, and then literally after all that, it just finds out that Diego tends to be reading that book to Manatee as if nothing happened. It's just so strange. This episode has a lot of confusion, if you ask me, and my final thoughts on Diego's Manatee Mermaid Rescue, to be honest, this episode had a lot of mistakes. And for that reason, I would give this episode a 3 out of 10. There are a lot of mistakes in this episode. No sharks, no humpback whales, no sailfish, manatee swimming faster when he gets to the ocean floor. It makes no sense. A lot of they never mention the pressure down there at the bottom of the ocean. And then they also, like, how does the city get out of the water in the first place? How heavy is it? Like, this city probably would weigh thousands of pounds because it looks like it's made of rocks and such, rocks and whatever. And then, like I said, there's, And one other mistake I forgot to mention is that there's when the fish are looking up and trying to help, they're like, help those mermaids, help those mermaids. It's important to know that fish can't do that. If fish come out of the water, even stick their heads out of the water, they're breathing air, and fish can't do that. Fish breathe water. So that's one other mistake. So this episode just has several mistakes. And when it comes to the crocodiles, close to the beginning, they don't mention what species. Is it an Orinoco or is it an American crocodile? It just doesn't really make sense. And like I said, I'll tell you the range of the American crocodile one more time. American crocodiles are found from Mexico down to northern Venezuela, but they're mostly found in Central America, going from Panama all the way up to Mexico. And there's also a small population in Florida. But American crocodiles are rarely dangerous. They're only responsible for 10 unprovoked attacks a year, and most of those are in Costa Rica and Panama. And like I said, the attacks just come from mistaken identity, like they think you're something else. But they are nowhere near the saltwater crocodiles of Australia, which are responsible for 60 unprovoked attacks a year. So it's important that we conserve American crocodiles because they are listed as vulnerable. But anyway, guys, that's just a quick thought on American crocodiles, and I might do a video about crocodiles and alligators in the near future. And just so you guys know, I just want you guys to know, have a safe and happy summer wherever you are. And I just want you guys to know that your support means the world to me. It really means everything that you're watching my videos and contributing to my channel. And guys, I just want to say, if you haven't hit subscribe yet, please subscribe. And if you don't subscribe, you are a monster. So please hit that subscribe button, and please hit that like button too. And I really hope to do more videos soon. And thank you so much for watching. And everyone, I'll see you next time.